everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to have a few more people joining, but we're going to get started with our session for today, talking about sustainability in business and specifically in small business. We have a fantastic panel, so we're so happy to get into it. But before we do, I want to just give a quick introduction to the Small Business Development Center. I'm Hannah Curtis. I'm with the North Metro Small Business Development Center. And we help small business owners who want to start their business or grow their business, have questions about their business, whatever it might be. We have consultants that can work one-on-one with business owners. And we also do educational workshops like this. So we'll be putting some links into the chat where you can connect with our consultants or check out our other programming. If you are a business owner and interested in getting connected, we would love to talk with you. So now I want to turn it over to Justine Roberts. Justine is a program manager with the Center for Ethics and Social Responsibility and is going to be moderating our panel today. And will kind of take us through the questions and introductions of the rest of our panelists as well.
Well, thank you, Hannah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this panel on sustainability for small business. As Hannah said, I'm Justine Roberts. I work for CU Boulder at the Leeds School of Business. And we're really just excited to be here joining all of these incredible people in this conversation. We begin every program with a land acknowledgement, so I'll read that now. As we gather, we believe in recognizing that the lands where we live and work are on the traditional territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, Apache, Comanche, Kiowa, Lakota, Pueblo, and Shoshone nations. Further, there are 48 contemporary tribal nations historically tied to the lands that comprise what is now Colorado. So welcome. I wanted to start today by actually asking each of our panelists to introduce themselves. And I think it would be interesting for everyone to hear your name and your title and where you work, but also what you think is the biggest opportunity in your role to make a difference. In other words, what is the impact or the potential impact that the work you do has? And we're going to go in alphabetical order by first name. So Berenice, if you could start. Thank you.
Thank you, Justine. Hello, everyone. Buenos días a todos. As Justine mentioned, my name is Berenice Garcia Tellez. I'm the new equity administrator for the Energize Denver Ordinance that was passed last year by the city and county of Denver. And what I do and what is very important on sustainability and equity, I bring like real tangible results and successes to frontline communities. And on my role, I'm really looking forward to help those under-resourced buildings in the city of Denver. Thank you for the invite. I think I will pass it to Bridget.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bridger Tomlin. I work in the city manager's office at the city of Westminster. In this role, I'm the manager of our sustainable business program called SAGE, which stands for Save, Act, Grow, and Earn. And I think that encompasses what I hope that businesses can achieve by looking at their operations in a more sustainable lens, really saving some money, but then also growing their business. And in my role, I hope to foster that and grow community. I think a major opportunity I see is elevating businesses across the whole Denver metro region and sharing best practices and mentorship and creating a positive community around this topic. And let's see who's next. Is it Marie? Ethan, yeah, down the alphabet.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ethan Rouse. Let me just say thank you to everyone else for joining us as well. I'm a business and economic development specialist with Adams County. Broadly, I could tell you the economic development department is focused on providing assistance and support for small businesses and small business development, particularly in the unincorporated parts of the county. But we also work to design programs across the board that would help everyone. And I think a lot of that would overlay with any sort of sustainable goals. The county recently completed a big update to its own internal sustainability plan. And I think the biggest opportunity there is us just partnering as much as we can across the board with everyone here, but also with any small businesses that have specific sustainable initiatives or goals they want to achieve. And I believe it's Gina next.
Hello, I'm Gina Schley, and I'm the owner of SHEGROWS, which is a 3-acre flower farm and design studio in Arvada, Colorado. And so we are boots on the ground, small business here. And I would say what I hope that our business really does as far as sustainability is to, for the flower industry, I would say most of the flower industry, it's all of these flowers are being imported from another country. And so local farmers can really bring such diversity and health back to our communities. So I'm hoping to educate other farmers that it can be done and really bring something unique to our neighborhoods, our local community, and help other farmers be successful in that, because it is hard to compete with large scale farms, but I think that it can be done. We're 3 acres and we're doing very well. I think people want to work with businesses that care. And so I'm really kind of steeped into the ag world and the flower world and many different components, and working with lots of different community members to bring more of them to life here in Colorado. I don't know who's next.
I'm next, Gina, thank you. This is John Schneider with Xcel Energy. So I've worked for Xcel Energy for 17 years in multiple roles in the demand side management programs. So helping customers to reduce their energy usage and be more sustainable by just helping the environment by putting less strain on the grid and kind of flattening the curve. So that's kind of what I really like about the job, is to help customers be more sustainable, investing in projects that have good ROIs while helping us all.
And I think I am next. Maria Gonzalez with Adelante Community Development, and I am the founder and CEO. Our primary focus is to work with Latino entrepreneurs and their families. And we believe that the impact that we could do is be the mediator between identifying the stakeholders, resources, and meeting them with the need of the community, and continue that collaboration and really being that voice of the communities that have continually to be left behind through this process of sustainable resources and community impact. So I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. It's so great to see all of you here today. And it just gives me that assurance that there's so many of us concerned with this ecosystem, and all of us could definitely come together to make a better communities of impact. So thank you again for the invitation.
Great, thank you, everyone. We have such an incredible perspective and talent in this conversation. I did prepare questions so that we have at least one question that really speaks to each of our panelists, but I also want to make sure we have time for audience questions. So just from a housekeeping point of view, I'm going to ask if you have a question in the audience to put it in the chat to me directly. I will get to as many as I can, and if I don't get to your question, I'm going to apologize in advance, and also know that Hannah can help you get in touch with all of the panelists after this event to follow up and ask more, and ask for resources or how to link into the programs and opportunities that they help manage. So I wanted to start, Maria, with you and ask a question about how we define sustainability. It's a word most people recognize right away, but I think we also have a range of definitions for what we mean by it. So when you are talking with the small business owners you work with, how do you define it? And when you try to tell people, make the case for why they should be sustainable, how do you connect sustainability to their business goals?
Absolutely. So for me, sustainability is the opportunity to promote the innovation and inclusion of best practices available that are able to deliver, the product and services that empower profitability for businesses, but also save the environment and ecosystems. Very interesting. When I speak with small businesses, most of the ones that we work to every single day, they're Spanish speakers. And so when we talk about the business sustainability, I hear a message of frustration and resilience at the same time. The small businesses that I work with, they face so many limitations, and they see a world of limited resources for their current demand. And they know that they could do better, that they need to do better in regards to the sustainability. And this is why trying to understand how do they are part of the solution every day, giving them the resources, but they lack knowledge. They really, I don't feel that they have been really catered to or welcome into these sustainable models. And so when I see them, trying to figure out how do they scale, bringing that awareness, bringing the stakeholders, and really having the opportunity to create a balance on what they're giving and what they're receiving. Latino entrepreneurs, they definitely have goals around survival and financial success, but the current business situation that they face with the lack of education in this issue, the lack of engagement, the lack of outreach in the utilization of the sustainable best practices really puts them behind. They've taken longer to be part of that process. After we have conversations about what sustainability impact they could bring into the business, then they're talking about how do they create with their internal organization best solutions for keeping their employees safe, to really provide manufacturing of the best products that can serve the environment, and really meeting the needs of the customer. Overall, if the customers are not part of that, then that means that they're not really delivering and they're not making the money. But at the end of the day, they want to be part of that community that they serve. They want to improve society at large, creating products that bring no harm, that are able to dispose and proper manufacture. But there's so much opportunities for us to continue to develop this sustainable outreach and engagement with our Latino community. So, and I welcome opportunities of what others have seen that are best business practices that we can then bring back into our communities and really work together in that collaboration.
Thank you. Bridger, I think that your stakeholders and Maria's stakeholders overlap. And so I'm curious, because you also spoke about best practices. What are the best practices for helping advance participation in these programs and making sustainability practices more accessible?
Yeah, I think a lot of the best practices in my mind are just making it as easy as possible. I think we have businesses that are coming from a lot of different starting points and meeting them where they're at, whether that's just at the beginning, they're just starting to think, hey, we noticed that we could save some money on reducing our energy bills. Let's go there. Or they're within this gambit, they're already doing a lot and then want to kind of go to that next step. But regardless, sustainability is about behavior change and trying something new. And in any sort of change, it's really important to understand where the best leverage points are. So in my role as an advisor to businesses, it's identifying those specific areas that we can get some easy wins and low-hanging fruit. I think the best way to create that change is to have fun and try to get some successes, because success will just breed success further on. If you start going for, okay, we have this super audacious goal to cut all of our carbon emissions by 50% in a year, that's really challenging and really hard. And I think instead it's best to find what are resources, either internally or externally. I think especially John can talk to the amazing rebates and programs Xcel has, but tapping into those. And a lot of these are free resources. You don't have to do that much to tap into that, and check off all those low-hanging fruit boxes. And I think that can really be around energy. Energy is something that will have very direct cost savings for businesses. And then from there, once there's a little taste, try to expand and see what's in the wheelhouse and also what has the most impact for a business's operations. And I think from there, you can build some groundswell and create larger change within an organization. But so I think those best practices are low-hanging fruit, build internal trust and excitement around it, and then take advantage of as many resources as you can as possible. And then it will kind of just go from there and the groundwork will start getting built up.
I couldn't find my mute button for a second. Well, John, I want to pull you in now since Bridger mentioned some very specific programs that Xcel is working on. And I'm curious, not just about those specific programs, but also what you're doing to increase awareness of them and uptake of them.
Sure. Well, we have a huge portfolio of energy efficiency programs for our customers, and different ways to be sustainable. So as far as promoting them, we definitely have, we do advertising you might hear on like the radio or TV or things like that. But we also have, our internal energy efficiency specialist group for all of our accounts that are unmanaged. So we do have resources directly for our small businesses to seek out like small business energy assessments that are free for customers under 50,000 square feet. And that can include some sort of direct install components too, where they may be giving you free like LED tube lights to replace fluorescents or faucet aerators and things like that that can make you energy efficient right off the bat. So some low-hanging fruit right there. Yeah, Xcel has a goal as well now to be net carbon or net zero carbon emissions by 2050. So we're definitely working on getting there. We don't have the exact technologies to get there, but we're working on it. Hopefully we have a lot of up and coming people, that can help promote this innovation and, help us get there, reduce our carbon footprint, and should help us all. There's a lot of other programs as well to be, sustainable besides more of the economic ones like our demand side management programs. We have like wind source, so customers can elect to be, 100% wind energy. I think it's maybe like a 15% premium. Then they can claim, that they're fully, carbon free. You get to keep your renewable energy credits. We also have a few solar programs. We have our Solar Connect program, which is kind of the same as wind source, where it's a premium that you're paying to be claiming that you're completely solar powered. I think the program is full right now, but there is a waiting list, so hopefully that opens up again. And then we also have some rate reduction programs as well, maybe for a little bit larger customers who can possibly drop load or curtail load during certain peak usage periods. We would have some sort of rate discounts. And like I said, we do have a full department just dedicated to our small businesses that you can reach and contact one of these consultants, and they can help steer you through these programs. We want to hear about them earlier than later. Usually the rebates are higher if we can get the customers in earlier and kind of pre-approve these rebates. So yeah, we have a huge resource for everyone. We're all kind of going toward the same goal of being sustainable, being carbon free, and trying to keep these bills low as well.
And John, to Maria's point about who the community is that sometimes needs these services, is your office offer bilingual services?
We do have translation services, so I don't believe we have any bilingual reps in our business solutions center right now. I know we do for residential, but for the business, we do have a translation service that we could use. So.
Okay. I think it's really interesting. Berenice, I saw you nodding your head there for a minute. And I know in your former position with Longmont, you were working directly with small businesses on sustainability. And I remember a conversation that you and I had, I want to say 18 months ago, maybe more, about the impact of COVID and takeout on just even the container use and styrofoam use in the community, and what that meant for small businesses to have to find affordable ways to be sustainable in the face of an uncertain environment. And I'm curious, you know, the kinds of programs that John is talking about, these energy programs, is that where you think the businesses you're working with are in terms of where their starting point and the questions that they're asking and the needs that they've identified for themselves? Or are there other things that are on their minds that are higher priority?
Yeah, thank you, Justine. Just let me step back a little bit for some of the comments that Maria and Bridget and John said. I just want to clarify that, yeah, I agree with Maria, there is a lack of education, but there is also a lack of equity infrastructure to provide services to small businesses. And what I created in Longmont is helping the people who need it the most first, because then helping others gets easier. And I agree with Bridget that you need to, as the sustainability professional, we need to do the hard work, and that is equity. We need to make sure that all the materials are, if it's Spanish speaking, translated into Spanish, that you have a rep that can talk to them and guide them through the process to get a rebate and so on. So building the equity infrastructure is hard, and us as a sustainability professionals, we need to do the hard work. And just for small business owners, just to sign, let's call it like that. And once you do that, you build trust. And that is very important. If you don't build trust with the small businesses from the beginning, they will never join your programming. And how you build trust, you have to show up, you have to start buying tortillas from the carniceria, you have to get your hair cut in their shop, you have to buy from them. They need to see your face before you even mention the word sustainability or climate action. And once you build these relationships, they start to get interested, and also bring a very important concept that Bridget mentioned, like saving money, especially after, since COVID, businesses have been impacted. So how to bring all those economic strategies and financial incentives out there, such as grants or loans that they can apply, and you help them to apply to those loans. So sometimes you will be finding yourself filling a profit and loss, creating a balance sheet. And once they get these resources, they will say, okay, I'm getting benefits, I can trust you, I trust your process, so what else I can participate? And then in my experience with Longmont, I show them the sustainable business program. So how they could also save money by changing old refrigeration units, changing their LED lights, and they saw it. So we had this business that changed like 4 refrigerators, changed all LED lighting. They were paying around $2,000 per month in utility bills, and now they pay half. So they saw the benefit. We created a case study. We told others in the county and other cities in Colorado, and now they are kind of implementing the same, because it's how it works in my experience, and how you engage these frontline communities, especially if we really want to create equity, real successes. And for the styrofoam, it has been a challenge for them. It's not that they don't care about the environment, they love the environment. And especially for Latinos, who are very connected to Mother Nature. So taking care of our planet for our future generation is critical. However, buying a pack of eco products from, in comparison to a pack of styrofoam from Sam's, it's too expensive, the eco products, so they cannot afford it. So it is difficult when there is a cost barrier that, whether you invest on eco products or you send money back to your family in Mexico, or you pay your employees, or you pay your marketing. So it's hard. That's why I think creating incentives, and that really us as a city or county can cover most of the costs, and they can just cover a percentage, like one program that is currently happening in Boulder County. I believe owners pay 30% of the cost, and the county pays the 70%. I think that it's like doable. So making it work for them. I always tell people, doing equity is not to bend the rules, it's to adapting the current system for these people to participate. And for them, I have talked to suppliers for these eco products, and they told me, we want to help, but at this moment, the market doesn't allow it. So how we create opportunities and programming to make the suppliers reduce their costs, or maybe an organization, maybe Adelante community, they can buy in bulk, and small businesses can go and buy small amounts from them, things like that. We just need to think out of the box to really address these issues. Thank you.
Yeah, there's two pieces there that I want to pick up on. I think the first piece that I want to ask Ethan to respond to is this economics piece, because I think this is your wheelhouse, and how you think about this affordability question and the role that local government can play in making this process more accessible to the people who really need it.
Yeah, sure. So local government, I can speak to from Adams County point of view. We really want to have a customer-based focus. Our mission is really to be the most innovative and inclusive county for families and businesses anywhere in the country. So that's a big lift, but that's something that we're dedicated to doing. In terms of like affordability, or I guess access, I guess it might really come down to, I guess, kind of communication, partly from our side, but also from, I would say, the business side. So I would encourage anybody on this call or any business anywhere within the county, if you're looking for any type of programs, if you have sustainability as part of your mission, but you're not totally sure how to do it, you're not sure what you might qualify for, whatever, please call me, call someone in my departments, call someone in the county. I'm not going to promise you we have a 2-minute answer immediately available, but we will do anything we can to help get you the right guidance and get you where you need to go. So again, please, a 10-minute call with me around a business issue might, effectively translate into, 5 or 6 hours worth of work that you don't have to do, because we can take that on. We can help review programs. We can help get you the information you need. Second, it also gives you a chance to really tell us what you need. Say your issue is, I'll just use solar as an example, because I have a backup example from our side for that. But say that's important to your business and you can't figure out how to do that, or you can't find any programs, please tell us. We're going to take your feedback. We're going to work with that to try to design something for you, or to get you to the right resources. I mentioned solar specifically because next month, Adams County is going to be launching its very first solar co-op initiative, largely focused towards residential, but it doesn't preclude businesses. So if it's something you as a business thinks is important, please come out to one of our information sessions or reach out to me. I'll be happy to get you all the information on that and get you the right guidance. I guess then broadly, for affordability or trying to make things work, I would agree kind of with what Bridget was mentioning. Kind of look for some of those smaller, easy wins. If you're making sustainability, whatever area that's going to be in a focus for you, it should fit into your long-term goals. So you should be, anything you do should be thinking 10 years out what it really means. But what you can do today, maybe it's small, but it's really gonna, fit with your long-term mission and what you're trying to do.
And specifically, Ethan, do you have programs like what Berenice was proposing, bulk purchasing to bring down the cost of certain items, or maybe you have low interest loans or grant programs?
Right at this moment, I can't speak to any that I have immediately running. That's definitely something we're looking at. I'd be happy to connect anyone on the purchasing side to our purchasing department. I know they have programs going on. The county doesn't have any active grant programs at the moment for that sort of area, but if it's something that people have a need, please, again, reach out to me. I can help maybe find something on the state side or through one of our other partners, or we'll get working on an initiative to make something work for you.
And Bridger, I think I see your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for businesses in Westminster, we do have all of those services that you mentioned: grants, free products, and then also discounted products to cover up to 75% of energy efficiency upgrades and water efficiency as well. So, and then, yeah, so kind of, if you're in Westy, we can do some of that for you guys.
Neat. Gina, I want to get you in this conversation too. You are a small business owner where sustainability is part of your DNA already. And so I'm curious, from your point of view, do the kinds of programs you're hearing about meet your needs as a small business owner, or are there other things that you look for when you think about how to build sustainability practices and really take them to the next level? Oh, you're muted.
Okay, thank you for that question. I would say, as a small business owner, number one, you might think that it's just naturally built into being a farm, but I would challenge that thinking to say there's a lot of farmers out there who that I know who aren't composting, who aren't doing basic things, or who are using synthetic fertilizers and all of those things that might not be as sustainable in everyone's mind. But I would say it's number one, first, a choice that I've made to really put this into my business as part of my core values and try to look at all the different ways that it can show up in our business. And I would say, some of the programs that you've talked about, I'm intrigued by them, like the solar and things like that, because we haven't used that, but I want to. And those are big scale ticketed items that I haven't done yet. But when you think of greenhouses and things like that, there's definitely ways to improve how you use them. But for me, just like you talk about low hanging fruit, very things that I can do on a daily basis, choices that I can make. I'm going to tell you a couple stories. One is I have retail customers, and I also have wholesale customers. And my retail customers, I believe, really value sustainability. Like when we say that we're a sustainable farm, we use organic practices, those consumers get that, and they're willing to come to our farm and pay more for our products. And I will say that I have, even when I've made better shifts in our own manufacturing, like for example, when I got into the industry, everyone used single-use plastic sleeves on flowers. You go to the store and you buy from Target flowers in a plastic sleeve that's not recyclable. And that's how I was trained that you need to present your product. And I did that for a few years and people could see it, but I didn't feel good about it. And as soon as I made a change to something that was recycled, I had a customer specifically tell me that they couldn't buy my flowers knowing that it was in a single-use plastic. But as soon as I changed, it's like a customer for life. So little things like that. It's not a big program, but it's just part of how we manufacture, how we package what kind of our product is. Those retail customers are willing to pay more for, and support our business. And then I'll say at another end, our wholesale customers, they're a little bit harder to sell because our products are more expensive, but once they use it, it's so much better. And they realize that they're willing to pay more for it and knowing that they can get it locally. And those are like lifelong customers. So it's different there. It's a little bit harder to crack wholesale accounts, but once they see it, it's just a lot better. So, to your question on the programs that they talked about, yes, I'm totally intrigued by them. I want to explore them more, but just as a startup, we've been in business 4 years. This is going into our 5th season. Some of it has just been like really basic things on growing and selling and packaging and making better choices there. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's really useful perspective. A question came in from the audience, and I'll get to it in 2 seconds, but I wanted to ask Maria, Gina's saying that both that she can charge more to offset some of the investment that she has to make to really be sustainable business. And I'm curious whether the businesses that you advise and work with feel like they also have room to maneuver on cost, or are they kind of squeezed a little bit?
Very good, very interesting perspective. We've seen, the last 2 years, how many of the businesses have been impacted because they had to raise their salaries to keep employees, which is the bottom line. If you don't have employees that, are main human resource, you're just not able to have a business open. So they've had to invest in training, education, and benefits to keep the employees. So that's a huge investment to keep the doors open. And so when we ask about, what are the other possibilities to save, they are open to it. But at the end of the day, is like, really, how much is it going to cost? The bottom line. And building, I think we have now the opportunity to build a long lasting opportunity to be sustainable through some of these models that I'm hearing today, like Westminster. We work with a few of the businesses in Westminster, but I was not familiar with the product programs that you guys have, and also Xcel. I think being able to figure out who the partners are that offer already existing valuable services that we can implement with the outreach that we already can do, then it'll really be an empowering opportunity and that synergy of not just survival, but look, I'm giving you choices, I'm giving you some ideas, but there's resources available where you don't have to, like Berenice says, you don't have to spend so much. They are ready to make investments because they want to see a better future for their children. And many want to give back. And the way that they want to give back is to have a better quality of life in the world where we live. But it does take education, and, the equity work. And just thinking about, I'm from Mexico, and we've recycled there, every jar, every plastic bag. We normally go to the grocery store with a bag already. And here, sort of have a different perspective, like, the supermarket has to give you a bag. And now that Denver has a fee, other cities, I'm hoping that they're considering, the less use of these kinds of bags. But, businesses in Denver, for example, that we work with in restaurants, they feel guilty for not giving the customer a bag for free, but they have the sense of responsibility for charging those 10 cents and really make it. So they're trying to say, like, can you save the world by only one bag at a time? And so I think we need to continue to build more education, more engagement, more outreach that really resonates with the community of the business practices that we bring from our home countries that really align with incentives here in the community. So, having this conversation early this 2022, we have the opportunity to really build more models of sustainability with the county, with the city, with us stakeholders, and walk together in the same page of, like, look, this is what we can do. Businesses are willing to get help because we build the trust and credibility. Now let's sit down and talk about, these are the resources, and then also seeing the results. How do we really see the impact when the consumer is saying yes to sustainability, when the businesses owners are making that commitment to the sustainability process? So it's going to be a win-win. And I think us as stakeholders and community members really need to take this as a priority and be serious to create that impact, and to, at the end of the day, hold each other accountable. Are we really doing the work that needs to be done in order to create that outreach and develop those best business practices? So, again, I welcome these opportunities to collaborate, and I think we're starting a great resource with this panel today. So thank you.
Yeah, that's neat. I agree. There's so much synergy. Hannah, you did a wonderful job of pulling people from different places together for this. So a question came in about federal programs, and I'm not sure if anybody here can speak to this, but the question is around federal sustainability programs that you're most excited about. So are there ones that you're, are you partnering locally with federal programs, or are there things in the works that might trickle down to the local level that you think are really going to help move the needle? Anybody can answer.
We're not doing anything with the federal government. We were lucky enough to be able to work with cities and the local municipalities in the county. But I think, having maybe a resource where we know all of the available federal programs that we can probably tap into, that could be a great resource for us to get to know them and then be able to share those with the community that we serve. That would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, for us in Denver, I think we're part of the coalition that is looking at how to that concept of net zero buildings. So Denver was invited to that. And also we have a climate fund that looks at investing 50% of the money that we collect annually to frontline communities. So in Denver, we hope to use this funding to support the people who need it the most through energy efficiency programming, zero waste initiatives, transportation, and so on. But I also know that the state will launch soon the Climate Energy Fund, I think it's called. And I don't know the details on the offerings that we have, but something that happened before COVID, and that I didn't see many sustainability people working with economic people. That's why I love this panel, because sometimes we work in silos, and I think we have to collaborate more. Because for example, in the infrastructure bill or the ARPA, there are some projects that you can see some sustainability initiatives, and this never happened before. So I'm really excited to see how this will be developed.
Yeah, one kind of thought I have is, I'm not sure exactly how with the federal infrastructure bill, I think there'll be a lot of trickle down for businesses where the states will get a chunk of change and then that will be subdivided within counties and cities. And then from there, it can be up to the city to maybe play with that. And here in Westminster, we're going to try to do some more work around energy efficiency, both for residents, but I think also hopefully for businesses as well, and can either expand our rebates or work more closely with businesses who want to do larger weatherization projects to really deep dive, or maybe even some electrification side benefits as well. So I think, at least I hope across the board, that just the amount of resources that local and regional governments will have for businesses will be expanded or more robust because of the federal funds. I doubt, though, that there'll be a lot of direct federal monies for small businesses directly. But if anyone else knows otherwise, please chime in.
Yeah, I just want to add on that front that I know there is like a track for affordable housing, and imagine that all this affordable housing has like energy efficiency factors into it, because there are also a lot of home-based businesses who live in affordable housing or mobile home parks, like landscapers, carpet cleaning, all of that, and those also can participate in the sustainability programming. That's why I think if we can make better their houses, why, that's also supporting small businesses that are at home.
One that comes to mind from my perspective is the NRCS does have a lot of resources and grants available for small local farmers, farmers across the country. And I know that's very specific to agriculture, but I know many farmers who've gotten hoop houses to extend season, have just gotten additional help with cultivating the soil and all of that. So the NRCS is definitely a resource that I would tap into if there's any farmers on the call.
I think it's always good to look at some of like the deductions that you might be able to get as well. Like if you do happen to do a large, like maybe lighting project, there may be like a tax deduction that you'd be able to claim. I know there's some things you'd have to do, such as maybe hiring someone to verify that it's been done. But if the project is large enough, it may be worth it. You being in agriculture, Gina, we allow people to claim manufacturing state tax exemption as well. So all of our agricultural customers are allowed to do that. So maybe a small discount for you there as well. But always good to look into that. yeah, and with like Bridger's program with Westminster, besides Xcel's rebates, a lot of the community groups have rebates that go on top of it. I know Boulder does as well, where they will take our rebate and they'll add a rebate on top of it to equal some sort of amount, like 75% of project costs, which can be huge when you add both our and their rebate together. Once again, really good to get early on in those programs because usually they're funded and the funds are used up pretty quick in the year. So, once you think you're going to be doing a project, get in on those as soon as you can and find the information so you can try to maximize those rebates. And then look around for financing too. Xcel has, I believe we go through it's something like HDC Capital, and they will put, I think it's like a competitive type of finance market where they will find, a good financer at the cheapest rate for you. And if you're doing any large projects, I think spends of like $100,000. There's like the Colorado PACE program, and you can loop in, toilets and LED lighting and solar panels, and it's all done as an assessment that you pay on your taxes. So, and that goes with the building. So there's a lot of different mechanisms to hopefully, make it happen for you guys. It's just, really reaching out and looking for, the best way to make it happen.
I just have a comment on the CPAS program because I think your property has to meet a food square area cap. I don't remember how big your building has to be to qualify for that program. But if your business is big enough, you can have 100% financing for that.
Those are amazing specifics, John. Thank you for sharing them. We have another question from the audience having to do with certifications and being labeled a sustainable business. So is there an external process for being considered sustainable, some kind of audit that you do, or is it self-reported? So I think Bridger and Ethan, maybe in particular from your perspective at the level of local government here, what are you seeing and how do you determine eligibility?
Yeah, so it's kind of great. Today there was an hour or pretty much right before this event, the Colorado Green Business Network has been relaunched. And this is a network that was previously called the Environmental Leadership Program, that is a recognition and certification program managed by the state. And it was pretty intense. And now it's been rebranded and reframed into a much more, I think, equitable and data-driven program. This, what's great about it is before there was a constellation of sustainable business programs throughout the state that would offer certification. Westminster and the SAGE is one of them. However, there are certain businesses that aren't in this localized system. Either they're in a larger county or a city or just anywhere that doesn't have one. But now there's this larger umbrella program. And what's nice is it is a uniform platform. All businesses in the state can register through a program called Green Business Tracker. And in that program, you'll set up a profile and you can work through different workbooks. They're restructuring it from a checklist system to more of a workbook where, let's say you want to really delve into energy, you can upload some of your energy data. And then from there, someone from the state or a localized program like SAGE in Westminster can look at that and review that and come to you right off the bat, knowing some of the background about your business, and can work with you hands-on to achieve certification and recognition if you would like that. Or you can just get that technical assistance and not necessarily have to hit every benchmark to become certified. However, if you do want to be certified, there are 3 different levels at the state level: gold, silver, and bronze. Some other local programs might have it a different way as of now. Thanks, Hannah, for throwing that in there. The link to Green Business Tracker. So please sign up. It's a really great, and it's free. This is all free advising, free services. It's the way I would look at it is for small businesses that don't have staff dedicated to sustainability initiatives. This is basically a concierge service for you to expand that staffing capability, which is great. So in recognition, you can get, I think, kind of across the board, some of the benefits are pretty similar, no matter where you are, where you'll get placed on a map, either on the state's website or on the local website, showing you're part of this cohort, you're certified. And then there'll be recognition events throughout the year. And then sometimes publicity, extra promotions, stickers on your door. And then you're also tapping into this network of other businesses, right? Where you can potentially see economic benefit, where businesses or customers, excuse me, are more attracted to that. If they see that on your door, well, I feel more excited to patronize that business. And then on the other side, you're also just entering this cohort of other businesses that can act as mentors, share best practices, and then can help you workshop through specific problems. So that's kind of a general overview, and Berenice might also have more to say on that. She did a stand-up job there in Longmont before Denver as well.
Yes, and I just want to add on what Bridget said, that you can also be recognized for in some programs for the community actions that you do. If you donate to nonprofits, if you volunteer, etc., if you hire people that are from the immigrant community, all of that can be also part of that recognition. And it's great because sometimes when you acknowledge and you promote these businesses, as Bridget said, people feel more like happy to go and visit them. So I really, if there are any business owners here, I encourage them to join that.
Yeah, that was really great information. Great answer, Bridger. I would back that 100%. I mean, I would really say you kind of captured everything there. So thank you for that. And I would also highly encourage everybody to check out that program.
So just as a follow-up to clarify, though, you don't need to be certified or like kind of accepted into a program at any level to make use of these sustainability programs, right? These things are separate tracks. You can, if you want to be a certified sustainability company, you can also just be a small business owner and pursue sustainability programs because they're cost effective, because they're the right thing to do.
Totally. Yeah. Like yesterday I was on the phone with a organic CBD company and they're like, so can I still be a part of this if I'm not certified? 100%. Everything in terms of what the state's going to provide, what here in Westminster I provide is free. You don't have to be certified to qualify for rebates or grants or anything. It's really helpful if you're at least in the Green Business Tracker system that allows the resource providers to understand where you're coming from and have a benchmark, but you do not need to be certified to do good work. I think that's kind of like a really nice benefit and goal to achieve, but it's not the end all be all. I think we have some businesses in Westminster doing great work already, but they are like knocking it out of the park in certain areas, which is awesome. Please do that. Keep doing that. But certification is not necessarily mandatory for success or for use of these services.
Thank you. We've talked a little bit about the types of companies that you all are working with. Gina, you talked about being an agricultural company, and I'm curious for the others, are there specific categories of small business owners that you see more than others, for restaurant, small shops, repair and service companies? What types of companies are really in your stakeholder groups?
We work very closely with restaurants, constructions, and service providers like beauty salons. The interesting part, for example, in beauty salons is that, there's state legislation that passed a couple of years ago on the kind of air quality that they need to have for those salons. And so, the state does I recognize that the state needs to do a little bit more of education and outreach of what are those new requirements for the building that they need to comply with, because there's the cost to make those repairs for the different cleanup systems that they need to do if they're doing like nails and hair, and to deal with all of the chemicals and products. We do a lot of that outreach and education and licensing as well, business compliance overall. And the one that we have a little bit of hard situation is with the construction, because the construction companies are so fast right now. Everybody's being pressured to finish the buildings, to finish the construction. And so I feel that there's not a lot of opportunity to provide there's business practices for them to think about where they're going to put the waste and how do they deal with that kind of waste. And so that more education opportunities that we can really bring into this community, these businesses that we serve. But they're not saying to us, like, what do we do? They're just doing what they're able to. And so that could potentially cause problems for the future of our environment if we're not actively involved into that education component with construction companies. And it's at all levels, from building the infrastructure to the interior of tenant finishes and whatnot. So roofing, all these materials, things like that. I think we need to collaborate more on those educational components that small contractors need to know, because sometimes they think they rely on the bigger general contractor and they're not responsible. So we need to make sure that we assimilate that responsibility and bring that accountability to if it's either a general contractor or small subcontractor, everybody needs to carry on that accountability process.
Yeah, on my experience, I work a lot with restaurants as well, as Maria mentioned, offices and breweries. Longmont is very known for all the breweries that they have, and I was impressed for one of them is that Left Hand Brewery. They have like a system to save a lot of water, so they were recognized for that. And others that I started to work before I left were home-based businesses, because landscapers especially, they were like asking if there is a way for them to switch all their equipment from gas run to electrical one. And we were thinking in exploring opportunities to see how we could build incentives for them to do it. So that would be great, especially, and also they are less noisy.
John, are you part of that conversation then through Xcel of helping businesses switch from one energy source that might be less clean to another, might be more clean? I mean, in what way are you kind of plugging in at that level with these small business owners? I know you talked about solar before, but that feels like a big investment. Are there smaller scale infrastructure projects that people are taking on? And how do you talk about those?
Yeah, there are kind of a general trend, is the electrification of the grid and pushing customers into electric equipment for especially for heating, where electric heat is usually about 3 times as expensive, to going to more technologies like heat pumps. Personally, I'm not involved in a ton of that higher level conversations, but we do have rebates where, we are pushing customers into that. And then I think there's going to be rebates coming down the pipeline where there will be fuel switching. So right now we're not able to say, if you take out this gas water heater and put in this electric heat pump, we'll offer this higher rebate because you're switching to electric. So it is coming down the pipeline now. So it's the future of, I think, all utilities. Yeah, we'll be getting there soon, I would say. I'd like to, I guess, point out some of the, rebates that we have for the restaurants. We do have, food service rebates now. That's a fairly new program that we've helped out with. So that's only online. We don't have a paper application for that one, but we see a lot of restaurants that are buying used equipment as well. So, looking into that program, I think would be helpful too, because it may allow them to buy more new equipment as well. So, hopefully I answered your question. I think it was kind of long, a couple of components.
No, that's great. I think I was fishing a little there, so that was a
Yeah.
good answer. Thank you. So we have a question in the chat from a woman named Grace, who is an ambassador for a locally produced organic oat milk that uses glass bottles that are reusable. And she's asking about programs that might be helpful to her business. I'm curious, that's a pretty specific use case, but what comes to people's minds?
Well, I guess one question for Grace is it about expanding the use of the reusable plastic or reusable glass bottles for Otis, or just kind of like a general program that you think would be useful? I think that clarity might be a little helpful.
Yeah, Grace, if you want to write a longer note to Hannah, maybe we could try to ask more specific questions. I think that's great. I love that you have this question for your business that you're working on.
Yeah, like one thing, I know some grocery stores, you can just bring back that glass bottle to the store. So if it's about expanding the reach of it, if maybe it was trying to get like keeping the bottles in a system, then working with certain vendors where it's at wholesale markets might be a good way. I've done that with milk, just bringing back the bottle to the grocery store, to Sprouts Market, or I had a milkman growing up. I don't know if that still exists anymore. That was cool, you know, keeping the system going there.
Yeah, this kind of gets at a question that has been in my mind. And I was actually going to ask Gina about, which has to do with your suppliers and sort of the pieces of your business that you don't necessarily have complete control over, right? You run a facility, there's a lot of inputs. There's your product that goes out into the world and you don't control what happens to it after it goes out into the world. So when you think about sustainability, what's kind of the scope that you're trying to have an influence over? Are you trying to choose very carefully how your products get to you, where you source them from, all those little pieces, and also how you get them to your customers? Or is it really just kind of thinking about the production of and your facilities that you're running?
For me, you know, I'm really looking at, I mean, my goal is to have, I call it a closed loop fertility farm, like a closed loop farm, to where I'm not bringing a ton of things from outside onto the farm. Now, it's impossible to do like 100%, but I will tell you, just in my world of flowers right now, that a lot of people are having a hard time getting supplies now. Like they're getting, even my tulip bulbs, you know, they come from the Netherlands. So it's like they're, you know, I'm still getting those bulbs from someone else, and all of those are being cut in half. Like farmers are getting half of what they, you know, what they were hoping for in many different cases. And so they're looking for things more locally. And another thing, like for me, is really trying, an example is dahlia tubers. I don't know if you know what a dahlia tuber is, but it's like a little, it looks like a potato that you stick in the ground, and some farmers would just till it into the soil every year and buy new, or you could actually dig them up, divide them, and save them for the next year. It's kind of like collecting your own seeds, dividing your dahlias, you know, like trying to do things that you don't have to replace every year, whether it's seeds or it's even in a greenhouse, instead of using plastic trays every time, switching to a different method. Now we're doing all soil blocking where there's no plastic involved. And, you know, it was a little bit more expensive in the end because I had to get started on it, but now I don't have to buy cell packs every single year. And so it's just, and I don't have to rely on getting them. Like I already have what I need. So it's like trying to think through all of the different materials that you need for manufacturing and trying to do it more efficiently and smart. Because if we are relying on, importing things all of the time right now, through the pandemic, I think small businesses are really feeling that if we're really dependent on certain sources that are coming overseas, like we're having a hard time getting those things. So the more we can, I think this is where small businesses have kind of thrived. If we can still run our business with getting things local, people are starting to realize that there's a real benefit there. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
I think that's extremely interesting. There's a kind of invention happening around the problem solving that's an opportunity to really come up with solutions that are more sustainable, lower cost, more local. I think that's really fascinating perspective. I wanted to ask everybody to give us a sense of what you think is kind of coming next. We've been living through a period of extraordinary uncertainty, rapidly changing operating environment, and we've also had some pretty big, not just COVID, but I think kind of the global commitments on climate and some of the other sort of world stage pieces. So I'm curious what do we have to look forward to in this space? Where are the opportunities for small businesses? And what's coming next is kind of a trends question. Is anyone willing to go first?
I can go first. I think, for Adelante right now, it's going to be our priority is going to be to understand what are the available resources, to start the partnership with those individuals and organizations that have already established, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel here, and really, come up with a directory of services so that when we're doing our one-on-one business coaching and our business education, so that we bring those resources to every opportunity. Because if we're able to start on this sustainability part now, when businesses are feeling a little bit more comfortable, since there's less mandates and opening, and so this comes along like, okay, now what can I do to better my business, right? And to better my bottom line. And so for us, it's going to be the approach of education, outreach, bringing stakeholders together to really collaborate on sending the proper message, unifying the whole state, because we need to, we're all in this environment of responsibility and accountability, but do we really reach out to those pockets where we need to really create that impact? And so that's the approach that we will have. And so check out an email later on when I'll send you, so that we can continue on this conversation at the level of community that we impact, and continue that work. And then again, I think for the SBDC to bring us together in the future to identify, okay, did we really do something? we brought this as an awareness, as an accountability partner, as a responsible organization, but are we really working together and build that check mark or checklist of things that we can potentially do together frequently, so that we don't forget about this commitment, and that we continue to learn about other best business practices and other new developments that will support the work that we're doing. That's where we stand.
I would say, from a utility perspective, what's happening is we're going to be having a rollout of more smart meters, and customers are going to have greater control over their bills based on them being able to shift their load into times when there might not be peak demand or constraints on the grid. More like real-time notifications for customers to shift their load. And then kind of with Xcel, besides Xcel, with other companies, even in like COVID times where there's a lot of turnover, I think it's really effective for customers to set up these green teams, so that if there is turnover in the company, that the green or sustainability mission continues on. and maybe even setting goals each year, saying, we want to reduce our electric bill by, 10%, and having that team to work on that so that the mission goes forward.
Yeah, for me, now in my new position, I'm really going to co-create the services and the incentives that we want to put together for buildings, because they have to reduce their energy consumption by 2030. But I don't want to guide the conversation. So I'm gonna have like community connections with people living in Bombello, in Westwood, in Sun Valley, just to learn what are their needs and how this energy ordinance can support them. We discovered that there are many multifamily housing buildings in Denver that they don't have cooling. So imagine how we can impact the lives of those tenants living there. And also all the other opportunities that we can create, for example, green jobs, because you can hire contractors to do the installation of heat pumps, LED lights, etc. So I'm gonna have these community connections with members in local neighborhoods, and also have experts, people from Xcel, people like Maria, people like the SBDC that can provide input in how we can navigate and use this funding. And as I mentioned to you earlier, we have to spend 50% of that in frontline communities, because we need to build a better future for our children. Thank you.
From my perspective as a small business owner, I think that there is a tremendous opportunity for local businesses. Like, local is just, sustainable just by being local. There's part of that in there. And I think by small businesses surviving through the pandemic and helping people at a time when it was so uncertain, and local businesses, can tell their story. I think if local businesses can tell their story, there's so many different ways to do that now with social media. Like, you need to be out there telling the story. I found that with sustainability, it's not so much saying I'm sustainable. It is showing people what we're doing and that we care about the future. I think that is the most important part. I think people want to work with those types of companies that care about the future and at minimum aren't going to hurt the future. So by using all of those different tools that we have that are free to tell the story, local businesses just have to utilize them. But I think it's a huge opportunity for local businesses to shine right now during, coming out of the pandemic and what we've all experienced.
Yeah, I think I just want to echo and build upon what you said, Gina. I 100% agree. I think the past 2-3 years, whatever it's been, we've been able to become more nimble as a society in terms of dealing with change, which is a great thing because the world's just going to keep on changing more and more. And I think in terms of our flexibility in governments to provide resources on the hopefully much more fast or directly to businesses and businesses themselves to understand, okay, what are we actually doing? And the businesses that are thriving right now, I'd say have inherently had to take actions that have benefited their sustainability, right? Like whether just economic sustainability, the fact that they're still here and have gone through the past couple of years as I think shows that our businesses are resilient and that in Colorado, our economy is still doing really well. And we're coming out of the end of it, I think, where I think there's motivation, there's creativity, and I think there's more unity through that. We've all experienced this really binding a couple of years, and people are ready to return to hopefully do some good work. And I think just the fact that this green business program, the state is having more uniform umbrella, that there's just structures in place that we can build upon. And there's going to be hopefully more meshing and community around this topic, as well as unified resources from the state, but then also down to the local level. I feel like it's every couple weeks that another municipality or county is wanting to have support services for the businesses in this topic. And I think Colorado as a whole is going to become a more elevated place to do business, and that sustainability is going to be a market differentiator for the state and for this region.
Hi, yeah, I'd just like to, that's a great point. Thanks for that information. I'd point out, in general, I'd say what you're going to see is a much wider adoption of electric vehicles. That's coming. So that's a general thing. Broadly, we're going to see water issues, water conservation issues coming up. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that, but that's why something like this is great, because that's going to be a broad state in a cross-group collaboration to fix that. I mean, with the growth that this area and Colorado itself has experienced and is projected to experience, it's just going to be an issue. And then third, I can say from the county side, I mentioned earlier, we did a big sustainability plan update. I'll actually drop a link into the chat. So if anyone wants to look at it, it is very comprehensive. So it's not a quick little read, but if you want to kind of see where things are going to be going, it's a great resource. And from the county side, you'll see the trend of us focusing on more of the environmental justice aspect of it. So reaching out to those communities that have been disproportionately sort of affected, which tended to be communities of color or low income areas. So that's where you're really going to see us rolling things out.
Well, I'm hearing such a incredible optimism, actually, which I think is wonderful. And this emphasis on collaboration and coordination of resources. I'm a big believer in partnership and collective action. So that makes me very excited about where we're headed as we go forward into the future. I am going to hand it back to, yes, and thank you, Berenice, the equity issues. I think this point about being able to speak to stakeholders in languages and at points in their lives where we're meeting them where they are, as opposed to asking them to come all the way to us, is a really important point, in terms of adoption and uptake of these programs. Absolutely. Yes, I'm gonna hand this back to Hannah to wrap us up. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me today. And Hannah, all over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. These have been really helpful conversations and something that we need to continue to talk about as we move forward. So I just put my email there in the chat for anyone who wants to reach out for more connections. We talked about a lot of resources today and ways to stay connected. So please reach out there if you are looking for any of that. And I'm also putting our SBDC website into the chat for anyone who's interested in learning more about the services that we offer. And if you're interested in scheduling an appointment, like I said, we do free one-on-one consultation appointments with business consultants. So if you are feeling ready to sign up for one of those, there's a link there that you can see all of our different consultants there. So we just really appreciate all of you joining us today, giving us your time, and a huge thank you to all of our panelists for coming together to share your insights and ideas. And I think it's really encouraging to see all the different ways that different entities can work together to support small businesses and to support sustainability moving forward. So just big thank you to everyone. Please feel free to get connected with us. And if there's no other questions or anything else, then we'll wish you a great rest of your day.